This week on Unscripted. Update on Matt Hardy and Jason Jordan's injuries. What is going on with these two, and how long is Matt going to be out? And are we going to see Jason Jordan back anytime soon? Plus, an update on Daniel Bryan's contract and how close he is to signing with the WWE. And is WWE planning a big women's match for Survivor Series? This and more on the future #1 podcast right here on YouTube.com. This is Unscripted. What is going on, everybody? It's France. We're back again for episode 32 of Unscripted for August 18th, 2018. NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4 is mere 8 hours away by the time you guys... Oh, 7 hours. I'm sorry. They do start at 7 now. 7 hours away by the time you guys see this. And we have ourselves some news to get into, but of course we always go with our week in review, Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, and NXT, with SmackDown Live, of course, being the better of the two shows as they build towards SummerSlam, the final build to SummerSlam. Monday Night Raw, really, the only thing you can really talk about is the tease of Paul Heyman turning on Brock Lesnar, only to make, oh, it was a ruse. We really fooled each and every one of you, and that's exactly what happened. He comes out, he speaks a little bit of Samoan to Roman Reigns, and then hands him a paper and hits him with some pepper spray, allowing Brock Lesnar to come in and beat his ass again. So WWE again, of course, trying to get us to get on the side of Roman Reigns. This is not South Carolina. This is not Florida. We're going to. This is not even Ohio or any of those non-smart towns. This is New York City, Brooklyn, New York, where you're going to have the smarkiest of smart fans here, who are going to sit there and do exactly what happened at WrestleMania on Sunday with boos, chants of "this match sucks." We want Strowman is going to be chanted the entire match if Strowman wins his match on Sunday, which he should. There is absolutely WWE is asking to pretty much get eviscerated if this match goes on last. I just watched Wrestling with Regrets prediction show with Brian Zane and Jay Biggs before I recorded this, and they talked about how this should just open the show, which would be kind of funny because they've had the world title back when the world title, the big gold belt, was a thing. You could definitely tell that title was coming to an end because majority of the time that bout opened a show instead of being one of the final matches of the night. So let's just put this title match on first to get it over with. But of course, we have to have Strowman versus Owens first before we can even decide what happens to Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. That was pretty much the only big talking point about Monday Night Raw, was the fact that Roman Reigns got his ass kicked again by Brock Lesnar. Nothing else really happened. I mean, we will talk about Matt Hardy and why the leader of worlds took the pinfall on Monday and what is going to happen with them next, and we will speculate on what to do with Bray Wyatt afterwards. SmackDown Live, of course, had the opening was the summons of the Triple Threat Women's Title match, which I'm still a little miffed that they didn't find a way to get Asuka into the show. This is just messed up that we have Sasha Banks, Bayley, Ruby Riott, Ember Moon, Asuka, all 5 of those women and Naomi, which that's 6 women right there, who have nothing at SummerSlam. None of those women are going to be on SummerSlam. You have four more women's champions right then and there, Raw and SmackDown women's champions right then and there with Bayley, Sasha Banks, Naomi. Okay, 3. Damn this one. Yeah, Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Naomi are all former women's champions on the main roster, and you ain't got nothing for them. That's sad. Of course, AJ Styles and Samoa Joe's rivalry got a little bit more intensified with the fact that Samoa Joe came out with a letter supposedly from AJ's wife, and just reading it to the crowd and how she's disappointed with AJ. Maybe he didn't want a family. Maybe he didn't want kids. And I lost him a long time ago. AJ Styles, they did post a video on YouTube yesterday, I think it was Wednesday, of AJ Styles being asked about that exact segment from SmackDown. He was like, it wasn't for my wife, Joe. I don't know why Joe decided to do all this, but I'm going to go into SummerSlam and pretty much kick his teeth in. So, yeah, definitely. And, of course, after SmackDown went off the air, they did show a backstage segment where the club and I believe the Usos were holding AJ back from getting to Samoa Joe, who was baiting him the whole time. He just, come on, Styles, hit me. And they were just holding him back because he was that pissed off, which, hey, I would be too if I had a wife and someone sat there, especially in the wrestling business, and somebody I was going up against wanted to sit there and try and make a personal and be like, yeah, your wife lost you a long time ago, so I'm going to play your mind games. Samoa Joe, it just feels bad that Samoa Joe is probably going to get the short end of the stick in this entire rivalry just because of WWE's stance with AJ Styles and how they see him as the flag bearer of SmackDown Live for the foreseeable future. NXT really didn't have much this week. We did have Roderick Strong versus Tyler Bate, pretty good match right there, and Kairi Sane demolishing Aaliyah, which I feel bad for Aaliyah, not really, but they're trying to build intensity for Kairi Sane before her match with Shayna Baszler, and I don't think they had enough weeks to do it. Like, she won the triple threat match about 3 weeks ago, and yeah, Shayna Baszler faced off against Candice LeRae, and Kairi Sane came out looking a little bit more intensified. But this is something that it feels like Kairi Sane should have had this intense and mean streak going way before, since she lost to Shayna Baszler in February. But she really hasn't. She's just been that bubbly, like, anime-style looking cute Japanese girl, and that's it. She hasn't really shown any intensity except for like the last 3 or 4 weeks. So it's definitely it seems like it's hurt Kairi Sane overall compared to helping her. And let's see, that was about it. You did have the Street Profits versus the Mighty, which that was just a way for WWE to show that their tag team division is going to be something else. They did, of course, announce the Zach Gibson and Pete Dunne match for next week, which will be interesting to see because that gets taped before NXT TakeOver. Of course, I expect Pete Dunne to win the match. I don't expect Zach Gibson to take it yet because they did tape the first. I think they had the first set. They had the first set of tapings of. They had the June. I think didn't they tape in June? I know they taped in July. They're going to tape later this month in August, September, I believe, October, and November. They're going to tape UK shows. And on the first set of tapings, they had Pete Dunne as the NXT UK champion. So I don't see him losing the title until it makes sense. And having Zach Gibson win the title before the show premieres and he's the new UK champion just makes no sense. No, SmackDown and Raw and NXT review. Not much really happened this week because we are getting to SummerSlam. Let's talk about a little thing that happened on Wednesday with the Wrestling Observer newsletter, normal views. I was on my thing playing some Fortnite with a couple people online and everything, probably streaming a little bit too. And I look over at my Twitter account and Dave Meltzer's name is trending. I'm like, what is Dave Meltzer's trending for? It's either A, he died horribly, or B, he's got his name, he's messed up somewhere, and people are gonna go ape shit on him. Well, apparently he and his someone listened to the Wrestling Observer news, the Wrestling Observer radio, and clipped 58 seconds of this entire thing, and it was and they showed it to Peyton Royce, where he said that Peyton Royce looked lighter and a lot more attractive in NXT. Do I agree with him saying that? No, that is something you should not do. Body shaming is not a cool thing to do for anybody. But the person who watched this and clipped this did not even watch the entire show, obviously, because they're like, oh, he said something negative. He said he body shamed Peyton Royce. I got to clip this and I got to put it on YouTube. I got to put it on Twitter and let Peyton Royce know that this is happening. And then it just blew up. You have and then you have the hypocrites coming out. The hypocrite fans coming out and defending Peyton Royce But these also, and going off on Dave Meltzer, but these are also the fans who sit there and body shame a Nia Jax, or they body shame Piper Niven last year at the Mae Young Classic, or they body shame a Kevin Owens. Body shaming is not just if you're shaming the look and appearance of a woman. Body shaming is for anybody. This is also the people who sit there and make fat jokes and watch WWE make fat jokes about Kevin Owens. They put Killian Dane. I don't give a fuck what Killian Dane said on Twitter, saying it was his idea and his design. It might have been his design, but I guarantee you he was pressured into getting that bodysuit so they could cover up his uniqueness. I don't give a fuck what he said on Twitter. I can tell you right now, I don't give a fuck what Road Dogg said. That was a Vince McMahon call, plain and simple. There is no fucking way that, like, oh, it was my idea and my design. So you spent your entire career on the independents, and the entire time you were in NXT looking like yourself, you come up to the main roster, and within a month and a half, you're already in a singlet. Yeah, I don't buy that shit. That's another thing right there, showing that WWE with the fat shame. You're going to have Alexa Bliss earlier this year between the Elimination Chamber and WrestleMania doing a body shaming angle with Nia Jax, talking about how she was double fisting turkey legs, or she's going to come out of WrestleMania with the Women's Championship in one hand and a turkey leg in the other. Are you kidding me? Yet, it's alright to defend one person. It's alright for people to defend the fact that Dave Meltzer body shamed on it, and like that wasn't even the whole crux of the entire thing. The entire segment of the show was the difference between NXT and the main roster. The fact that NXT, everything for the women works perfectly. It works right. You have good storytelling. You have good character development. You have everybody clicking on all cylinders. And when they come up to the main roster, what happens? They get their legs cut out from underneath them. They get buried. Unless you are a Barbie doll diva with blonde hair, fake boobs, fake ass, and terrible charisma, you aren't getting shit on the main roster. With the likes of a Becky Lynch, who was suppressed since she came to the main roster, since they did the brand split, and she was put on SmackDown by herself at the time. She was other than winning the women's championship for the first time, which I'm glad they did that, but she has been suppressed over and over and over again because they don't like her accent. You have Sasha Banks and Bayley, who everybody, you go back and watch WrestleMania and watch those two in the Women's Battle Royal, and the fact that Bayley tosses Sasha Banks out of the ring, the crowd popped so loud. It was one of the biggest pops of the night. Then Naomi came in and ruined the whole thing, but that is beyond the point. That was one of the biggest pops of the night. These two women, we want to see them tear each other apart like they did in NXT in 2015. But yet, WWE wants to sit there and say, oh, this is a women's evolution. Look at what we're doing for the women. Who are your women's champions right now? Carmella, who can't wrestle, can't fucking cut a promo, sits there and does the same shit over and over and over again. Oh, woe is me. I gotta put on the alligator tears. I gotta cry and pretend like I actually care what the fans think, and then turn around and hit and attack the person from behind. They've done it every single time. Alexa Bliss can't wrestle, doesn't like to take bumps, is starting to regress on the microphone. Alexa Bliss and Carmella, the best thing those two ever did was when Carmella was the hype girl for Enzo and Cass, and Alexa Bliss was Blake and Murphy's bitch. That was the only time those two did anything right. Since then, they have been jack shit. And they're going to continue to be jack shit because of their looks and appearance, and yet that's why you see them as the women's champions. Neither one of those two, after they lose their titles, hopefully both on Sunday, should ever touch a championship again. Period. You have some of the most talented women in wrestling on both Raw, SmackDown, and in NXT, and you have Shayna Baszler. Out of all three women champions right now for Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, Shayna Baszler cut above them all. She is just killing it in NXT. I do not want to see her come up and be reduced to just being made a fool out of. Look at Ember Moon. She comes up. She gets a couple wins. and then she starts going off with it. She starts going back and forth with the Riot Squad, Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan. Beats Liv Morgan twice, faces Sarah Logan, loses to her, and then beats Liv Morgan a third time, and then is gone for about 3 weeks. WWE needs to get over this fucking women's evolution bullshit that they are. Oh, but it's the first time ever for Hell in a Cell. It's the first time ever for this. It's enough. No. This is the Divas division just painted over. And like, you just took the word diva, put a thing of white paint over top of the word diva, and just with black marker wrote women's division. Like, you have the Divas division, you took white paint and painted over the Divas division, which is not permanent paint, just saying. It's one of those ones that you can wash off, and then you just took a black marker and put women's over top of the name Divas. That's how this is. It's not a women's division. It's not a women's evolution. It is a Divas division disguised as the women's evolution, and it needs to stop. Getting off track here. Dave Meltzer, yes, should not have said what he said, saying that she looked more attractive. It shamed her. It was not something you should do. But if you actually go back and listen to the entire radio segment, it wasn't even the main topic. It was just the slip of the tongue, something he said, and somebody decided to blow it out of proportion. It's just what it is. You can't, like, the wrestling community is a bunch of fucking cynical pieces of shit. The wrestling fans out there who sit there and just like, oh, the keyboard warriors, let me just sit here and just dial on my keyboard. How can Dave Meltzer say something like that about Peyton Royce? I heard this 58-second video clip. This guy's a fucking monster. This is the same people, like, who also gamers. This is the same people who went after Ninja, from the Fortnite player Ninja, who went out there and said he doesn't stream with women because he's married. I applaud that dude. I applaud Ninja for something like that, because he's like, but yet they blew that out of proportion. People on, like, social media is bad for wrestling. Social media is like the downfall to the WWE, because you have so many people, and I know this for a fact. One of the easiest things to do in life, like when you're in a fight with somebody, if you're in a fight with somebody, and it's somebody that you know, somebody that you actually have an affiliation with, say it's like, say it's a brother or sister or something, you're sitting there, you're arguing with them face to face. You're going to say stuff that you don't mean, but it's a lot harder to argue that way and fight, or you'll just hide things back. But if you put you guys off into like two different rooms and put a keyboard in front of you, you're gonna say shit that you know you don't mean just because it's so easy to say. And that's pretty much what the wrestling community is. I guarantee you, half of the people who stood up for Peyton Royce on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday would not even say half of the shit they do in person. I guarantee you, half of those people, if they ran into Dave Meltzer, would sit there and just crumple and not say a thing. It's just what it is, and it needs to stop. If you're going to judge the book by its cover, then that is your fucking fault. Go back and watch the Wrestling Observers, or listen to it, whichever one you want to do. Go back and listen to the entirety of that show instead of just that 58-second clip. There is no reason to say that. If you're going to sit there and defend Peyton Royce, that's fine. He made a mistake. He messed up. But it's just like Dave Meltzer. And the thing about Dave Meltzer is he is at the top of the food chain when it comes to journalism. When it comes to the wrestling journalism, Ryan Satin and all these other guys who sit there and put out news are taking news from the Wrestling Observer. They want to be where Dave Meltzer is. They want to be known as the top dog in the wrestling community. Yes, not everybody in the wrestling business likes Dave Meltzer. Yet people still are going to have to sit there and respect him because he's been around for ages. He's been doing this for at least 20, 30 years. This guy has been there and seen it all and done everything he can. This guy has the face of wrestling journalism, in my opinion. But something like this was going to be fuel for the fire for anybody who does not like Dave Meltzer. Not just wrestling fans, wrestling personalities, wrestlers themselves. Eric Bischoff does not like Dave Meltzer. He has his 83 weeks that he does every single week. And that dude comes out and he bashes Dave Meltzer every single week. calls him an idiot, calls him, and just goes off on him. People don't, like, not everybody in the wrestling business likes Dave Meltzer, and for him to slip up like that was just something for them to be able to go, oh, well, he screwed up, time to make his life a living hell. Just like I said with the ninja thing that happened earlier this week, where he comes out and someone clipped him saying, well, I don't swim with girls because I'm married, and people blew up, oh, he's a bigot, he says, fuck the women, there's no reason for it, like, people need to stop and blowing things out of proportion. You did it with Ninja, and people did it with this. Just like when Asuka, it was earlier this week, I'm pretty sure too, it was last week. I'm sitting here on Fortnite again, just sitting here playing a bit. I look over my Twitter account, and Asuka's name is going up the trending list, and I'm like, why is Asuka trending? And people blew a fake story out of proportion that Asuka walked out on WWE. I could have told you right then and there that was a 100% fake news, especially since it was like 2 days later or 3 days later. If it would have been Asuka walking out of WWE, it would have been reported on Tuesday night of last week. There wouldn't have been she walked out after a heating exchange 3 days later or so. Just like when Neville walked out last year on WWE. It was reported that night, not a week and a half later, or 2 days or 3 days later. So, like the wrestling community, the only thing I got to say about the wrestling community is stop blowing things out of proportion. What if Dave Meltzer would have came out and instead of talking about Peyton Royce and the women's division in Raw and SmackDown, he would have went out after Dean Ambrose and said, "Well, Dean Ambrose, he looks like he's been taking lessons or going to visit Jinder Mahal's laboratory and getting the special ginger juice or something." He would have said something about, "Oh, Dean Ambrose looks a lot more jacked than he did back in February. So, gee, I wonder if he's that's body shaming right there." Would anybody be saying anything about Dave Meltzer? No. People would have been questioning Dean Ambrose. People would have been like, you know what? Dave's probably got a point. He does look like he's a little bit more jacked. Which, yes, Dean Ambrose looks like he's been spending a little bit more time in the weight room or whatever it is. But yes, people would have went after Dean Ambrose probably a little bit more if it would have been him talking about that. Yes, again, Dave Meltzer said it wrong, shouldn't have said what he said, but if you go and listen to the whole thing, he's comparing Raw and SmackDown to NXT. And the drastically difference. The women's evolution is the women's evolution in NXT. What we get on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live is divas painted over, the word diva painted over with a white block, a thing of white with the woman in black marker, women's over top. That is all there is to it. That is my comparison to that. So again, if you want to sit there and blow something out of proportion, don't do it, because you're just going to make everybody in the wrestling community look bad, or any community that is. Get your facts straight. Get everything done right before you actually sit there and make judgments. They say don't judge a book by its cover. A 58-second clip of what did they do, an hour and a half to 2 hour show? Yeah, you're blowing shit out of proportion right then and there. That is the definition of blowing it out of proportion. Should he say what he said? No. Was it blown out of proportion? Yes. Moving on. Speaking of the women, WWE planning a big women's match at Survivor Series. It looks like WWE will finally do the 4 Horsewomen versus 4 Horsewomen match at the Staples Centers in Los Angeles on November 18th, according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter. WWE's horsewomen are Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Bayley, and Becky Lynch, while MMA's 4 horsewomen are Ronda Rousey, NXT Women's Champion Shayna Baszler, Marina Shafir, and Jessamyn Duke. Angles were planned and filmed for the match in 2017, but the match never happened. There's been recent talks of doing the match, and the word is that the teaser is being sent out. Regarding Duke and Shafir, in NXT, both are being praised for their work. Shafir has just two matches so far, and Duke hasn't wrestled anything but practice matches. Duke was set to make an NXT live event debut along with Shafir at a live event in Largo, Florida last month, but Duke was pulled from the show due to a minor injury. Duke impressed people with a practice match at the WWE Performance Center, and some believe she is a prodigy at pro wrestling. There's also feelings that Rousey is a great on the big stage when the match is completely laid out, and that Baszler is definitely ready. The Observer adds that some people believe Duke will end up being the best of the four. That's a lot of talk right there, especially with the fact that how far Shayna Baszler has come from last year and how well Ronda Rousey has done in her short time on the main roster. There's also potential for a four-horsewoman angle at the first ever all-women's Evolution pay-per-view a few weeks earlier on October 28th, but the word is that the actual match will take place at Survivor Series. So there was a big rumor that this match was going to happen in Evolution, but it would make a little bit more sense for Survivor Series. That means you would throw all... The biggest problem I have with this is that you're throwing Jessamine Duke and Shafir up to the main roster like that. I mean, Baszler could come up next week. Baszler can drop the title to Kairi Sane and be on SmackDown or Raw. Probably SmackDown, probably Raw, whichever one they want to do. SmackDown or Raw the night or 2 nights after SummerSlam. She is that good. They don't even need her in NXT really. And with the fact that Shayna Baszler is still NXT Women's Champion, and the fact that Ronda Rousey and Charlotte or Becky Lynch should be SmackDown and Raw Women's Champions before this Charlotte Survivor Series, it would make sense for them to hold it off till Survivor Series. I just want the match to be over with because, I mean, I would probably get hyped for it, and with it being a 4-horsewoman versus 4-horsewoman match, you don't have to worry about... You can always keep Ronda Rousey and Charlotte separated. Have one or the other, if it's an elimination match, which it should be, you should have one or the other be eliminated first without even touching those two. Should not touch. Maybe one's in the ring, maybe one taunts the other one, they tag out, and the other one tags in, and they just tease each other, and then one of them gets eliminated. Probably Charlotte, and then you go from there. But we will have to wait and see for sure, because it's really hard for that, because you do have 3 of the 4 horsewomen in NXT, and the 4 horsewomen of WWE is 2 are on Raw and 2 are on SmackDown. So, and another thing about this is the fact that where the women's wrestling is done on SmackDown and Raw. After this it's like you have the 4 horsewomen match. Where do you go from there after that match is over? That is a question that I've always wondered. Everyone makes a big hype about this match, but what happens after the fact? What happens after 4 horsewomen from MMA and 4 horsewomen of WWE are done with their match? What happens next? Do you continue a feud with Ronda Rousey and Sasha Banks or Bayley? Where does Shayna Baszler and the other 2 4 horsewomen, Duke and Shafir, go? Do they go back to NXT? Do they come onto the main roster? There's just so many questions. I mean, it is a good match for Survivor Series, which really has been a humdrum. I think that's the right word. It's the black sheep of the big 4. Really, it is. It really is. I mean, the Royal Rumble everyone's excited about. WrestleMania is always an exciting thing to get hyped for. SummerSlam, it's Royal Rumble. In my opinion, the big 4 pay-per-views. I'm getting off track here, but the big 4 pay-per-views, Royal Rumble is always number 1 to me. WrestleMania is number 2. SummerSlam is number 3, and coming up 4th is Survivor Series. It's just the way Survivor Series was built. Just feels like it was a pay-per-view. If it wasn't one of the big 4, would have been scrapped long ago. Just saying. If Survivor Series would have been like an Armageddon or a Judgment Day or a Backlash and not one of the big 4 pay-per-views, that concept and that show probably would have been scrapped. I don't know, maybe during the Attitude Era, maybe in the Ruthless Aggression Era. It just feels like that show would have been scrapped a long time ago. But let me know what you think about the 4 horsewomen versus the 4 horsewomen. Will it happen at Survivor Series? And if it does, are you excited about it? Dean Ambrose advertised for a match at Hell in a Cell next month. Now, if you watched my preview and predictions last night, my idea for a match for this would have been Dean Ambrose is in Seth Rollins' corner on tomorrow, and Dean Ambrose helps get rid of Drew McIntyre, and Seth Rollins wins the Intercontinental title. Dean Ambrose hands him the title and then hits him with Dirty Deeds, turning heel. And then you set up a match between these two at Hell in a Cell for the Intercontinental title. That is not where this advertisement is going. Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre and WWE Intercontinental Champion Dolph Ziggler is now being advertised for the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. As noted, the AT&T Center previously advertised the following matches for Hell in a Cell: Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns, Gag Me with a Spoon, Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton, and Samoa Joe versus WWE Champion AJ Styles. Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton, I think, is going to happen because of the fact that Randy Orton is not in the United States Championship match. What we saw on Tuesday with him lurking behind the set of the SmackDown set, that he is going to get involved somehow and cost Jeff Hardy the match against Shinsuke Nakamura, and we're going to get Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton at Hell in a Cell, maybe inside Hell in a Cell, even though it's really hard to tell what we're going to get inside Hell in a Cell. I do not want to see more than 2 matches inside Hell in a Cell. If we go 3+, I just think that's a little overkill. But I can honestly see Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton inside Hell in a Cell, or Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles inside the cell structure. One of those 2 matches, which I know AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe is probably going to happen again, one of those 2 matches will be happening inside Hell in a Cell. There's no word yet on which of these matches might take place inside the Hell in a Cell structure. Please do not give me Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns. No, thank you. Hell in a Cell takes place on September 16th in the AT&T Center in San Antonio, Texas. Tickets are on sale and now remains from $27 to $435. Just another. I hope, like, with WWE talking about bringing back, there's been talk of like Halloween Havoc coming back. Can we please scrap the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view? Please? Hell in a Cell should only be brought out when it's warranted and not forced, when the actual feud calls for it naturally. Like when Shawn Michaels and Triple H were having their feud from 2002 to 2004, it was the match between those two at Bad Blood was a Hell in a Cell because it warranted it. There was Triple H versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania inside a Hell in a Cell. I don't like the fact that was 3 Hell in a Cells that year too, because there's still the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. I don't like the fact that Hell in a Cell is just a stopgap between SummerSlam and Survivor Series. Now, people will wonder, why don't you see the same thing about Elimination Chamber? The Elimination Chamber itself as a pay-per-view is fine to me, just because the simple fact is it makes sense to have, well, you didn't win the Royal Rumble, you guys, especially what they're going to do next year, 3 from Raw, 3 from SmackDown, maybe even 4 from Raw and 4 from SmackDown, inside the Elimination Chamber. The winner goes on to face whomever does not pick to face the winner, the champion that was not picked by the Royal Rumble winner. Probably would have the Royal Rumble winner hold off until after Elimination Chamber. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one. But that's what I like. I'm fine with that because it's like, well, this is your last chance to get a world title match at WrestleMania. So I'm fine with that one. Hell in a Cell and TLC both are matches, are blow-off matches to feuds that just don't need to be there. We need, this is just WWE being uncreative. Money in the Bank, I think, should still be at WrestleMania, but if they want to give it its own pay-per-view, fine, whatever. But definitely need to give it up Hell in a Cell. It just, yes, last year we had the New Day versus the Usos inside Hell in a Cell, and that was a great match. Kevin Owens versus Shane McMahon, the only thing that's really worth talking about is the fact that, again, Shane tried to kill himself, and Sami Zayn turned heel. Other than that, that match was not even worth mentioning. And then, of course, remember 2016, we had the Sasha Banks versus Charlotte match inside Hell in a Cell, and that match was awful. That match was 100% awful. Not taking anything away from the women, it was just like, you could just tell that those two were nervous inside that structure. And it just feels like they didn't, did they even do a walkthrough through Hell in a Cell with the Hell in a Cell above them and do some kind of practice match or something before that match went on the way? Hell in a Cell has got to go. Put it back in October. Give me a Halloween Havoc, and let's just have that. There is absolutely no reason to have Hell in a Cell be a pay-per-view. You don't get that same excitement from the crowd when it's like, we're going to go to this pay-per-view, and I have a choice of stipulation. It's gonna be Hell in a Cell. You don't get that same excitement from Hell in a Cell as it is right now. I mean, when Mick Foley faced off against as Cactus Jack faced off against Triple H at No Way Out. I believe it was 2000. No Way Out 2000. Title versus career match. And that stipulation was named Hell in a Cell. That crowd lit up. You don't get that from just Hell in a Cell being there. It's like, oh, it's October. It's the middle. It's the fall time. We got to have Hell in a Cell. No. I wouldn't mind if we got rid of Hell in a Cell and you just in Hell in a Cell went away and we didn't see one in 2019. We didn't see a Hell in a Cell match till 2020. Hell in a Cell is deteriorating and degraded, and it just has to go. Extreme Rules has to go. Extreme Rules had two matches with any type of stipulation to them. You had the tables match between the New Day and Sanity, and then you had a Extreme Rules match between Alexa Bliss and Nia Jax. Other than that, that show was the least extreme it's been in a while. Kill these gimmick pay-per-views if they're not necessary. Extreme Rules is not necessary. Hell in a Cell is not necessary. TLC is not necessary. Give us some creative pay-per-views. December should be, if you want to do Starrcade, fine. I don't care. Just give me something other than those three pay-per-views. I'm fine with the Elimination Chamber because it fits right in between onto the road to WrestleMania. If you didn't win the Royal Rumble, and if you're one of the top contenders on whatever brand you're on, you get put in the Elimination Chamber, and it is your last chance to get into a world title match. That I'm fine with. Money in the Bank, fine, whatever. Do what you got to do. If you want to put it in June or July, fine. But give me something else. But Hell in a Cell will be going on September 16th, so we are less than a month away. Update on Daniel Bryan's contract with WWE. As previously reported, the 2K Showcase mode will return in the WWE 2K19 video game chronicling the career of Daniel Bryan. While many speculated that this could be a sign that Daniel Bryan is re-signing with the company, Dave Meltzer noted that the F4W message board on Wednesday that Bryan has not signed yet. The 2K Showcase mode is something that was decided on several months ago. They're not this 2K Showcase mode was decided before Daniel Bryan was cleared. The 2K Showcase mode was probably decided December of last year or January of this year. They don't just say, well, he's back, let's do this. Excuse me. But, yes, it's just like anytime you see WWE do something, like CM Punk was, in 2K15, CM Punk was in the game still, but he already left the company in February. Of course, he wasn't scanned to look more modern, so they had CM Punk in the game because of a showcase mode that they had to have him in, but it had it marked off that he was 2K WWE 14 or 2K14 model. This is just like when the Ultimate Warrior, when Rey Mysterio, when Goldberg, when anybody who is a pre-order bonus to WWE 2K game does not mean they're signed to the company if they're not already there. Daniel Bryan, Daniel Bryan is probably going to be signed. We'll talk about that in a second. But it would really look bad on WWE if Daniel Bryan walks away from the company and this showcase mode is going to be happening. That would really be sad. Bryan's contract expires on September 1st, so they're running out of time. WWE has him scheduled for several shows after the date, including SmackDown 1000 and the Super Showdown in October. Bryan appeared on the Sam Roberts Wrestling podcast this week and said that while he hasn't signed with WWE as of yet, there's a very good chance that he will, perhaps early as this week. He says, and I quote, "I think at this point it's 90%, not 90+%. I will say it's likely I will sign with WWE," Bryan said. The reality is that the probability is I have not re-signed yet, but it could happen as soon as the end of this week, or it could be a couple more weeks. It's very likely. WWE released a new advertisement for SmackDown event in October. AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe, as well as Carmella versus Asuka, are advertised for as many of those shows, including the October 9th SmackDown live taping at Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. In addition to SmackDown 1000 and the Super Showdown, Bryan is only advertised for one other show in October, which is the SmackDown taping on October 30th in Atlanta. Bryan told Roberts that he'd like to work a 50 to 100 match per year, although he realizes that it might be more than that. He said that WWE is working with him on his schedule and that he has no interest in wrestling 200 times a year again. They don't want to do a full schedule, and I think WWE has been very gracious in working with me to not do a complete schedule, Bryan said. I honestly think, and this is not just Daniel Bryan, you have so much talent on Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live, NXT, that, well, Raw and SmackDown for sure, you don't have to have guys wrestle 200 times a year. You honestly don't. I honestly think that they need the injury bug. You have this whole you had the Attitude Era, you had the Ruthless Aggression Era, you had the quote-unquote reality era. This is the injury bug era. So many guys and girls in WWE are getting constantly injured. Constantly injured. In WWE, it's mostly because of how much different WWE style has gotten since the guy likes of Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, Daniel Bryan, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, down in NXT with Adam Cole, Ricochet, Velveteen Dream, EC3, and all these other talented guys, and of course the women too, are changing the WWE style. They need to cut back on the house shows. You have Raw and SmackDown on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday should be done. Oh, I almost knocked my screen off. Should be days off. Saturday and Sunday should be your house shows. Saturday for Raw, Sunday for SmackDown, and then of course Monday and Tuesday you would also have house shows because you have on Monday mostly you have Raw, and on SmackDown side they have a house show. Tuesday you have SmackDown, and on Raw side you have a house show. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. Let them one of the biggest problems with wrestling now is that, and why injuries happen a lot more, is that they don't have time on Raw and SmackDown to settle down and rehearse the matches or rehearse certain spots if they want to add it to a match. Then they try to add that spot in, and someone ends up getting hurt. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they should be in one of those days, you should have your talent report to the Performance Center and work out new big things, especially since SummerSlam's coming up this Sunday. You could have, you have everyone in. The last week, you could have had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off, have those guys who are going to be at SummerSlam at the Performance Center working out what they're going to do. So when those matches happen, they're not a clusterfuck, and the risk of injury diminishes. WWE needs to cut down on this. The full-time schedule needs to be gone from 200 matches a year to, I'd say, about maybe 120 to 125 matches a year, if that. Cut out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, until, of course, SmackDown goes to Friday nights, but you know what I mean. Give your guys off a little bit more. More time for their families, more time to go home. Yes, I know WWE likes to have as much time that they can, make as much money as they can, but the house show numbers are down as it is. That's the thing that WWE also needs to realize. Unless you're in a Madison Square Garden or one of the smarky towns, house show numbers have dwindled. They're not up there where they need to be, where you should be able to sustain a being on the road 200 times a year. Cut the house shows down. Do what the Impact Wrestling's doing. Put a Twitch channel up. Do a WWE Twitch channel. You'll get yourself, and I guarantee you, WWE will start making some money on a WWE Twitch channel with classic content, which I know they have the WWE Network, or if you wanted to, house shows. Have the UK stuff over there. Because as soon as they become an affiliate or they become a partner, boom. You start having emotes made. You start having people are going to start buying. People will sub to you that thing, and you're just going to have revenue come in that way. I'm really surprised that WWE has not ventured into the market of Twitch. When you see Impact Wrestling, House of Hardcore, and other wrestling promotions using the platform, they have YouTube. They make money on YouTube, whether you want to admit it or not. They have Twitch. They're on all these other social media platforms, but I have yet to see them do anything with Twitch. I just find that's really peculiar when you have AAA, House of Hardcore, and Impact Wrestling using the Twitch platform. Are they making like Ninja type of money or all those other people type of money? No, but there would be another revenue stream for WWE. Just my opinion. But they do need to cut down on the house shows. If you really want to make this fun, WWE, and you want to have those house shows, how about if you did start a Twitch channel on Saturdays, you broadcast a house show on Twitch? I'd be up for that. I'd be up for that for sure. So is Daniel Bryan going to be signed to WWE? It looks very likely, but they are running out of time. They have less than a month. They have, if I can get my calendar to come up, they have about 2 weeks left on Daniel Bryan's contract. So Daniel Bryan, and it would not surprise me if Daniel Bryan doesn't sign immediately, but he puts in a verbal commitment to sign. They give him all of September off. He goes home, rests his body up. He's not seen until September. And then he comes back in October. If they want to, well, they're gonna meet him for the Super Showdown. I don't think they have him advertised for September. So Daniel Bryan does not sign, but verbally commits to sign with WWE. He goes home for all of September, signs at the end of September, and he's back for the Super Showdown. And that's the next time we see him. Is Daniel, and you'll have Paige on SmackDown advertise or announce Daniel Bryan versus X superstar here. Or if you want to do a tag team, Daniel Bryan and like Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton and The Miz. There you go. But I could see Daniel Bryan, if he does sign with WWE, being off TV all of September. It's a dead part of the year. They really don't like. It's not going to hurt the WWE to lose Daniel Bryan for a month. I'm just saying. So Daniel Bryan's gone. Like Daniel Bryan loses to The Miz, and The Miz can come out. If they really wanted to do that and go to The Miz beats Daniel Bryan, he comes out and just mocks Daniel Bryan each and every week for the rest of October and August and all of September. And then Daniel Bryan comes back at the Super Showdown, and that is the next time you see him, and he signs on the dotted line then. Give him a month off. Let him rest up. But we will see Daniel Bryan probably still in the WWE. Again, it would be very bad for WWE if, for 2K, if they decided to do this superstar showcase of Daniel Bryan, and in 2 weeks he's gone. 2 weeks he is gone and out of here. I think Vince McMahon and WWE would be really mad. Oh boy! Update on Matt Hardy's health. We now know why Matt Hardy has been teasing changes to his WWE status. If you actually look on Matt Hardy's Twitter page, I don't know when he did it, but I noticed it on Thursday or Wednesday or Thursday that he's no longer Woken Matt Hardy. He's Matthew Hardy. He got rid of the Woken gimmick. He's just in his description he says he's woken, broken, and all truth teller and everything, but it's been Broken Matt Hardy, then Woken Matt Hardy, and now it's just Matthew Hardy. It could be different now. I haven't checked it in a while, but his things popped back up, all his tweets and stuff, and it said Matthew Hardy. I'm like, wow, that's different. In a series of recent cryptic tweets, the Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Hardy is scheduled to take some time off due to injury. Recently revealed that his lower back and pelvis have started to fuse together, and while the pain isn't too bad, it is frustrating. Hardy is planning on starting a new training rehab method that should help with the pain. Hardy and Bray Wyatt's match against the Revival and the Raw Tag Team Champions, the B Team, on Monday was done as the blow-off to the leader of World's Tag Team, as Hardy teased it in his post-show tweet to Wyatt. He thanked him as a compadre, and he's going to miss him, is what he said. There has been talk of Hardy shadowing WWE producers to learn the ropes with the idea of working a producer job in the future. Hardy is scheduled to undergo treatment for various injuries, and after that is done, a decision will be made in regards to a possible in-ring future. In return, what capacity that might be in the future, if he will have to work a limited schedule. So, Matt Hardy gone and done wrestling for now. The biggest question now coming out of this is what is going to happen to Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt did we did the whole final deletion earlier this year, or the ultimate deletion, in which Hardy won. Bray Wyatt disappeared until the pre-show of WrestleMania, in which he helped Matt Hardy win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Those two became known as the Leader of Worlds, won the tag team titles in Saudi Arabia in one of the most predictable matches of the night, because the Bar were their tag team opponents, and the Bar were going to SmackDown, where they have been underutilized ever since. But they held the tag team titles to, I believe, Extreme Rules, in which they lost to the B Team in a fluky loss. And then, of course, so what are we going to do with Bray Wyatt? Bray Wyatt, up until his feud with his teaming with Matt Hardy, has been irrelevant. The last feud that he was trying to really have was when they were going to have him come out and be Sister Abigail to take on the demon Finn Balor, who looked like the Pumpkin King from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Just saying. And measles or whatever it was got in the way, and that never happened. And he just went back to irrelevancy. He was the one to break Matt Hardy, and eventually, of course, they had the Ultimate Deletion match. Where is Bray Wyatt going to stand now? I don't know. He might not even do anything, really. He might just be back down to catering. It sucks for a guy like Bray Wyatt who had so much promise and so much potential on the main roster when he came up, and they had him be like, he had remnants of The Undertaker. And now look at him. They did the whole match to blow off the entire team, and I don't know if we'll see, like, maybe they'll do something on Sunday tomorrow that lets us know that Bray Wyatt is targeting this person. But we don't know. I don't know what they're doing with Bray Wyatt, and we'll just have to wait and see. But it sucks for Matt. Hopefully he can get better. If he needs to retire, then just retire. Just retire. He's going to become a producer in the back, just like a Devon is, and what Goldust usually was when, like, how many times Goldust has done that too. And Matt Hardy as a producer, and just like Tyson Kidd has also become a producer. And when the sheets come out, like the run sheets come out and they show who's produced each match, and you look off and you're like, oh, Tyson Kidd did this match. Oh, no wonder that match was so much better than everything else. Matt Hardy is going to have that same effect. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens with Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy also did tease on Twitter about his about the fact that everybody who was was involved in Impact Wrestling in the Woken or Broken universe now reside in WWE. So possibly, what about having a Woken Hardy TV show on the WWE Network? Let me know what you think about that. That would be interesting, weird. But what else would you say? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Hogan. Has issues with wrestlers who don't forgive him. Hogan addressed the WWE locker room before Extreme Rules, where he had an apology in store for everyone following his reinstatement into the WWE Hall of Fame. Hogan recently discussed those events on the After Chat, where he described the process of getting him back in WWE once again. According to Hogan, Triple H kept tabs on him during his time away from WWE, because of course he did, partially thanks to Hogan's participation in the Boys and Girls Club of America, who accepted him into their own Hall of Fame in June. Triple H knew what I was doing with the Boys and Girls Club, and there was a good common bond there, so he kept a good eye on what I was doing, and I kept him aware of when I was doing appearances and what we had going. So then we started talking about different things like Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. I said, man, I'd really just love to talk to Vince. I texted Vince back and forth on birthday, and he texted me on New Year's and stuff like that, but we never really had a good conversation. So all of a sudden, my phone rings, and it's, hey, Monster, how you doing? So we talked, it was like, wow, man, we had been texting back and forth, but I hadn't heard Vince's voice, and it was just so good to hear his voice. He hasn't changed a bit, same old intense Vince, and we talked about, and it was a great conversation. Hogan said he and McMahon spoke back and forth for a short time until Triple H called Hogan and said it was time that he had a conversation with himself and asked if he really wanted to do something with professional wrestling. They agreed to bring Hogan back, but McMahon and Triple H wanted him to speak to the African-American superstars. No, I'm not going to do it, Hogan said as he retold the story. I want to talk to everybody because what I did not only hurt the business, it hurt white, black, every athlete you have, Japanese, everyone who's involved in the business. I will agree with Hogan on that one right there. They wanted him just to talk to the African-American community because, yes, they would have been offended the most because of the things that he said. But for him to say, no, I'm not just going to talk to them, I'm going to talk to everybody because it's not just whites and blacks in the wrestling in WWE. You have Japanese, you have Asian superstars, you have Mexican, Hispanic superstars, you have black, you have white, and you have everything in between. So him just talking to one set of superstars with the black African American superstars wouldn't have been right. So for him to go out there and say, no, I want to talk to everybody because this did not just hurt the black community, it hurt everybody. I will agree with Hogan on that one. So if that's true, then good on him. Hogan wanted to speak to the entire roster and flew into Cleveland to make the drive to Pittsburgh thinking he could stop by Extreme Rules and address the locker room. But the fans figured out his plans. Hogan met with Pat Patterson, a man who helped bring Hogan into professional wrestling during his Florida days, and it was good for Hulkster to see an old friend. I get to Pittsburgh, but right before we get to the building, my phone was blowing up going, "Congratulations, you're back in the Hall of Fame." Hogan said, "I had no idea they put me in the Hall of Fame. I thought we were just going to go there and talk." I thought, wow, that's so cool. It made me grin from ear to ear. I didn't start crying because I had two other men in the car with me. I get to the building, and they had everybody in the room, and I walked in the room, and I made it very clear in my head what I wanted to say. Hogan said there were two plans on what he would say to the locker room. The first idea was to thank everyone for showing up in spite of their hectic travel schedules, and then admit to saying something 12 years followed by an apology. He wanted to explain himself, saying he didn't even remember saying those racial remarks over a decade ago. That would have been stupid if he said that, because first and foremost, that's just you using an excuse. Oh, I don't remember saying that stuff. I don't even remember what I had for breakfast 2 weeks ago. If it's on video, then obviously you said it, so just saying that would have been a bad idea. Then he switched gears to the second plan, where he told the WWE locker room that they are in the biggest spotlight in the world and everyone should be ultimately careful not to even slip on a banana peel, especially if they're a big star. Hogan reminded everyone to be careful because cameras are on everyone's phones at this point, while closing with a message to learn from his own mistakes. Hogan then addressed some members of the WWE locker room who didn't accept his apology in the way it was presented before Extreme Rules. Because your apology was half-hearted, it felt like. A lot of people accepted my apology, Hogan continued. A lot of them heard what they wanted to hear, and a lot of the narrative that came out of the meeting was on point. A lot of the narrative was really different because I was surprised to see some people interpret what I said to say, "I was sorry, I got caught on camera," or whatever they interpreted. I never said that. I guess the media and people go with the most negative narrative they can come out of there, but that's pretty much what happened, and that's how I got put back into the Hall of Fame. I was on the way to the meeting. I was put in before I got there, which is really, really cool. Although Hogan says he relayed what he wanted to during his locker room apology, not every member of the WWE roster was willing to accept his public address and plea for another chance. Hogan opened up about those wrestlers who were unwilling to accept him back into the fold, saying they don't understand the brotherhood of wrestling and they also don't know him very well. It is what it is, Hogan admitted. I said those words. It was totally unacceptable, and I just really wanted to get in front of all the talent and apologize because I know I hurt this business. You know, I just want to move forward. I just hope the brotherhood can get back to the way it was because, you know, when you're in the ring and somebody is body slamming somebody or power driving somebody, you protect your brother and you make sure physically that they are safe. Outside the ring, you're supposed to protect your brother, you know. In this case, it's a situation where you are 75, 80, 90% of the wrestlers are protecting me. They're giving me another chance to move forward, but you know there's just a few wrestlers that kind of don't understand the bond, not the brotherhood of wrestling. If someone makes a mistake, you need to forgive them and move on and try to let them prove themselves. I just feel that I wish I could kind of have one-on-one conversations with people who really don't know me and try to maybe explain myself better. But, you know, all in all, it was a great day. It's just a highlight of my life to be able to be back in the Hall of Fame and to be able to move forward. So it's been a great time these last couple of weeks. First and foremost, if people, it's Mark Henry, I'm pretty sure, Titus O'Neil for sure, and others don't accept your apology, that's your own fault. Just because you apologize, they're not going to accept your apology right away because I've said it before on here and I'll say it again. It's just like any relationship you're in. You make a mistake. Whether you said something you didn't mean, you maybe physically hit somebody that you're with. I'm just talking about like a relationship, or you walked down on that person because of X, Y, and Z. Just saying sorry or apologizing is not going to be enough. You actually have to show them that you are better, you made a mistake, you're better for it, and you're not going to make that mistake again. This is just like that too. Just because you come out and say, "Hey, I screwed up, I apologize," that's not good enough for everybody. Some people it might be. Maybe those people don't know you very well, and they're just like, "Oh, okay, it's Hogan." So, and a lot of the guys in the locker room nowadays grew up on Hulk Hogan. So maybe it's the fandom in them accepting his apology. But then there's going to be those who are like, "I don't accept his apology because those are just words. Show me that you're sorry. Show me that you didn't mean to do that. Show me that you are better for what you did. If that, like, they might not accept your apology now, Hogan. This is not something you need to say, though. This was not something you need to do. Come out and call them out. Show them that you're sorry. Show them that you are regretful for what you did. Show them that your words are not hollow. And then eventually they'll come around, and eventually they will give you, they'll accept your apology. Just because you say you're sorry, whether it's a relationship with somebody that you like, say your husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, mother, brother, sister, daughter, kids, whatever, family member, employees, whatever. You make a mistake, and just the word sorry isn't enough most of the time. Apologizing is not enough. You have to show that person that you are sorry. An ex of mine said, put this in perspective really easily. Any relationship, whether it's you're dating somebody, family member, whatever, is like a piece of paper. Flat, when you first pull that piece of paper out of a notebook, and it's like you pull it out, it's all straight and everything, and that's when you have full trust with that person, and you crumble that paper. Like, say this is hard for me to do because I'm not talking. It was her words, not mine. But say you take that piece of paper and you crumble it up. That is the crumbling up is you breaking the trust of that person. No matter what, how many times you pull that piece of paper out and you try to flatten it, it'll never be what it was before you crumble it up. So, just because you just got to make the best that you can with that piece of paper. That's a terrible analogy. She said it a lot better. I wish I had the quote, but, it is what it is. It's the same thing, pretty much. No matter how much you want to sit there and apologize to these people, eventually these people will come around if you put in the effort to show them. Just don't sit there and be like, oh, I'm sorry, and be done. No, you did part one. Part two, and the next chapter is showing those guys and girls who did not accept your apology that you are sorry, that you are better off. And this did not help, I will tell you that right now. Coming out and saying, oh, well, I was hoping this, no. Coming out and bitching a fit because not everybody accepts your apology is not the way to go for it, Hogan. That was a bad idea. Instead of pushing towards everybody accepting your apology, that brings those people back down. It's like, oh, this guy isn't sorry. Because if he was, he wouldn't be bitching a fit like that. Is it a big deal? Nah, it is what it is. This is 2018. Everyone's allowed a second chance. Hogan's on his second chance. Do not do it again, Hogan. That's all you can say. We're going to end this here with news on Jason Jordan. And I said it a couple months ago, or a couple episodes ago. I don't expect Jason Jordan to come back to WWE on the main roster for a good while. Neck injuries are very serious. Look what happened with Paige. Edge even said in his retirement speech after he broke his neck in 2003, he was on borrowed time. Jason Jordan might not be back in the ring. It looks like Jason Jordan could be interested in a potential career as a WWE producer. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Jason Jordan has been shadowing WWE producers as a way to learn the ropes since he had issues following neck surgery. As noted, the situation surrounding Jordan's neck is worse than expected, and there's no word yet on when he will be back in the ring. He underwent neck surgery on February 5th and was cleared several weeks back, tentatively scheduled to return to the ring in July. But plans have changed, and he's not expected back anytime soon, his last word. Earlier this week, there's talk of Matt Hardy possibly moving into the producer role as well. Hardy is currently out of action with injuries, and in-ring future is up in the air. Now, Jeff, that is Matt Hardy has had a 25-year career or so. So if he wants to retire and keep himself from causing any more pain, good on him. But for Jason Jordan, his career just got started, and it's got to suck because they brought him and Chad Gable as American Alpha were his was the best thing for him. Jason Jordan, the biggest thing before Chad Gable was him and Ty Dillinger, with Jason Jordan and Ty Dillinger. I think it was Jason Jordan who turned on Ty Dillinger, and Ty Dillinger became the perfect 10. And then NXT ran many vignettes with Jason Jordan, or had Jason Jordan in matches with flaky tag team partners, and he would always lose. And then they would show backstage vignettes of him in the locker room with Chad Gable just running him down, trying to get him to be his tag team partner. Eventually he agreed, and eventually they became tag team, and eventually they got the name American Alpha. Won the tag team titles for about a month or two. Lost them back to the Revival, and then during the draft, they came up. And as soon as they came up, they did win the tag team titles one time for SmackDown, and then after they lost the tag team titles to the Wyatt family after, I think, a 2-month reign, they went and they were done. They didn't do nothing with them. Every once in a while, they would show Chad Gable or Jason Jordan in one-on-one and singles matches against other opponents, and then Jason Jordan was brought to Monday Night Raw as the son of Kurt Angle. And it was a bad idea from the start, but he was really starting to come into his own as a cocky prick heel. He was transitioning to a cocky prick heel. Then the neck injury happened, and he has been seen on TV since. Now, if I would have to say anything, Seth Rollins really benefited from Jason Jordan's injury. I know that's a terrible thing to say, but you got to look back that Jason Jordan versus Seth Rollins was penciled in for WrestleMania. Instead of that, Seth Rollins ended up being in a triple threat match for the Intercontinental title, which he won the match, putting him on the Monday Night Rollins train, defending that title, bringing prestige back to the Intercontinental Championship. So if there's any positive out of this entire situation is the fact that Seth Rollins became the man on Monday Night Raw with the Intercontinental title and his Monday Night Rollins name for the time being. But it's got to suck for a young guy like Jason Jordan who has so many years ahead of him that if WWE doesn't trust him enough to bring him back to wrestle, then it's just a bummer because you don't want to see somebody's career end so early. It's just like I said, Paige was out for a year. Paige broke her neck. I don't remember exactly why, but Paige broke her neck and was out for well over a year, and that mostly because of who she was dating at the time and everything in between. But she came back, and within a month, she was done. She was done wrestling. She was the manager for Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, and then finally the night after WrestleMania, retired from wrestling. Again, it sucks for somebody to have to potentially have their career cut so short. Matt Hardy has given a lot to this business in wrestling, so if he has to retire, it would suck for him to have to retire because it's not on his own terms, but he's done and seen a lot. So, quite honestly, to me, it's not as much of it sucks for Matt as it would be for Jason Jordan. So, we'll see what happens. Jason Jordan possibly done wrestling. He is shadowing people in the back, so if WWE doesn't feel like he's going to be savable to come back to wrestle, you'll start seeing him in backstage segments helping Adam Pearce keep the wrestlers apart. It also really sucks too because there was talk about if Jason Jordan comes back that they might put him and Chad Gable back together to reform American Alpha, and if he's not able to come back now because of this injury, then what does that do for Chad Gable? Well, Chad Gable is pretty much technically screwed still, and instead of being a chance to have Chad Gable have a resurgence in his career, is just going to be back at the drawing board. So that is the news for this week. I tried to find some other news, and I could not find any. It's one of those things when we get close to a Big Four pay-per-view, the news kind of just falls down. It just comes down, and just you don't get as much, so that is going to be your Unscripted for this week. I will be here tonight for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4 review show. We have 5 stellar matches that are going to outshine everything on SummerSlam. SummerSlam, again, has a lot going against it, and they have to do a lot to make you care about SummerSlam, especially after tonight. My name is TheFranz. Find me on Twitter at TheFranz. Find me on twitch.tv/TheFranz08. Hit that subscribe button. Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of these. It wasn't much news, but I did my best to try and stretch this to at least an hour or so. But let me know what you guys thought of everything that we talked about. Matt Hardy's injuries, Jason Jordan possibly not wrestling again, the 4 Horsewoman match, and Hogan's Hogan's pretty much calling out everybody who did not accept his apology. Let me know what you think of all those and the Dave Meltzer situation. Again, thank you guys to everybody who has been watching my videos. Make sure to hit that thumbs up or thumbs down, whichever you want to do. And I will see you guys tonight for NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4 review. Till then, my name is Fox, and I am out of here.